Welcome to Florida Education News. My name is Dr. Tony Arza, and today I'm sitting down with board member and candidate for Hillsborough County Public Schools, Perez. Karen, thanks so much for sitting down with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, look, election time in Florida is very busy. We have a very informed, populace, and our citizens here want to know where the different candidates sit on different issues. So, want to just sit down and give you the opportunity to share a little bit about yourself. Could you tell me a little bit about who you are and why you're running for school board?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm a grandmother and mother of 3 and grandmother of 10. And they're in our Hillsborough County schools, and my children graduated from Hillsborough County schools. So I know that Hillsborough County schools puts out a product that the population here, the community here, embraces. And I want to continue providing that opportunity for our community here in Hillsborough County.
Yeah, and it's great to have people that have their kids in Hillsborough County, grandkids. You're currently sitting on the board, and you're running for re-election.
Yeah.
Could you kind of share a little bit about what are some of the things that you're most proud of, and then obviously if you're running again, it means that you still believe there's work to do. Could you kind of share a little bit about that dynamic?
Yes, actually, the fact that our budget has been incredible. We're in the black, as opposed to when I was first elected being in the red. And we've been very, financially stable the time that I've been as an elected official, as school board member. And also, being able to put that money that we have in the budget towards our students, but mainly also towards our teachers. We've increased salaries and trying to get them to a salary that provides them with a livable wage. So I'm excited to move that needle forward to get our teachers here in Hillsborough County in that space. But also very exciting news that we had a 93% graduation rate this year. It's been the highest that we've had in Hillsborough County to date. When we're looking at 7% graduation students that we have to get over that hurdle and get them across the stage, as opposed to what we've had in the past, we're focused on that for this year as well. But that's my greatest target is right now is getting that 7% across the stage, and also my passion. And one of the reasons why I ran also is mental health. We all know our students are really dealing today with mental health, and helping them get those dollars into the schools to affect some change with them and supports for them and for their families.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that issue, about the mental health? Obviously, it's something that I know before you've said and you've shared about how important of an issue it is. How, as a board member, do you take that into account? How are you able to impact that?
Well, in the last 8 years, we here in Hillsborough County have had $400 million allocated to us from the state towards mental health. That's engaging our students in the schools, but also with community partners, being able to get those supports, not just for the students, but also for their families. And also eliminating the stigma of mental health, which, one of the things when you're looking at a student, being able to get that support, or even their families, is removing the stigma, allowing them to talk about the needs that they have, and providing the services. The whole child service, to be able to get that child into the classroom, to be able to focus on their studies, get them across that threshold of graduation, and getting them into our community to be supportive members of our community, and their families as well.
And a lot of times when people think about board members, they're not necessarily aware of what a board member does or the role that they have. Could you share a little bit about the role of a board member and what your experience has been, and how a board member can really have an impact in their community?
Oh, absolutely. So a board member, we have 4 jobs, and that is to hire the board attorney, hire the superintendent, write policy, which is so important. You know, as we go along, policy that affects both our community and student is imperative. When we go out in the community and talk to our parents and see how policy affects our students' education, their daily life in our schools, it's just, you know, how to craft that policy to support not just that student, but their family member as well. And also our budget. You know, when we're looking at a $4.3 billion budget and making sure that allocations are for our students, student first, and then our teachers, making sure that they're getting paid to support our students in our classrooms, but also what they need in order to make sure that our students are being supported, whether it's programs, whether it's, you know, books or whatever they need to support our students in our classrooms. And then we have to make sure that those allocations are you know, appropriately placed for the teachers and the students, but also making sure that space in our classrooms are managed, that we're not wasteful. And right now, we're doing a marvelous job here in Hillsborough County with those allocations.
And you know, another big change that's happening in education in Florida is that now you have universal school choice.
Yes.
Parents are voting with their feet. School districts, you've had school board members around the state that maybe have been complaining about that, have been very vocal against that move. They blame the school choice movement for declining enrollment. Could you kind of share where you stand on school choice? Because I think that it's what everyone's talking about in education. Mm-hmm. It's where the citizens in Florida really want to know where their board members stand on that issue in particular. Could you share where you stand on school choice?
For me, school choice is, you know, what I support, because a parent should be able to choose for their student, but also there's so many choices, you know, for our students. Not public school is not for everyone, you know, and we have so many choices that will support the student in their needs. You know, there's your charter schools, your home schools, you know, there's so many different ways that our children today are getting educated and receiving what they need in order to be the best of who they can be, you know. So for me, school choice is incredible, and it really supports also public schools, because it provides for that student the one-on-one or the smaller classroom size or what that child needs specifically.
Yeah, and you know, and it's an evolving market, and it requires a lot of attention. So the last thing I want to ask, and you brought it up before, mm-hmm. When we talked about some of the things that you're most proud of, but you're responsible for a extremely large budget, multi-billion-dollar budget, mm-hmm. and most people don't realize how much responsibility that is for a school board. You mentioned that it's no secret that Hillsborough County just a few years ago was in the red, yes. And there was almost a dire situation. We almost had to have the commissioner come in and take over, right, and the state come over and take over to fix things. But things have kind of turned around. Can you share a little bit about that? But then I also want to hear, why should the voters trust you, right, to manage the budget?
So a few years ago, there was decisions being made without the fine attention to the outcome. When I was elected, I requested an audit, a forensic audit. I requested to make sure that the books were tightened up, and to make sure that what we were voting on, it was something that was needed. And looking at the dollar amount that we were voting on, it's very difficult when the superintendent brings something to us and says, well, we really need this, and for us to say, well, do we really? At the end of the day, we have to look and see, is this amount, whether it's 10 million, 15 million, 150 million, is that something that we really need, or can we move that money to support our teachers and our students? So today we continue to be very diligent about what we approve, and we always say no, and we mean no. So our budget has been amazing for the last few years, and we continue to hold that accountability, and we will continue to hold it.
Well, look, thanks so much for sitting down with us and for
My
sharing a little
pleasure.
bit about yourself, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
Cut.